Hi you guys, welcome back to Mayfield Ranch. I'm Katie and today we're going to take you on a tour of the garden, show you what's going on out here, and we're going to get as much harvested as we possibly can this morning before it gets super hot. So we'll show you what we get out of our garden this week. Come on along. You guys can see all these. These are my little cabbages. So they're starting to come through here. And we're either going to thin them out or I might try to move them. But they're coming up. Okay, here we've got a yellow squash. So we do have some yellow squash on there to pick. And then our beans are just getting growing. So there's a little zucchini. Here's another one. And then there's one more right here. So there are some weeds coming through. This cardboard we did, it definitely is helping, but it's not perfect. So we do have some weeds to pull out here also. So we still have all of our spaghetti squash up hanging over that arch. Plenty of it is ready to harvest. I think we're gonna try to get a bunch of that today. And then peppers are really kind of just loaded up with peppers. So we're gonna get as much of this harvested as is ready. Okay, so we have one delicata squash down there that made it. I had two planted, but something got to one of them. And then here's another one right here coming through. Let's check back here and see if any of the beans look like they're sprouting that I planted. Move this out of the way. Don't see anything coming up there. Plenty of peppers. We do have a bunch of jalapenos that are ready, so we'll grab some of those. So our Sugar Rush peach just continue to ripen, so we'll grab some more of those. And in our backyard garden, we also have a bunch. There's that zucchini we planted, so it's flowering. We should have some zucchini coming up there. Some beans. Not a lot going on right here. This is the part I was kind of clearing so we could plant more. I do have a few squash coming up, so there's one right there. And then more hiding kind of under this basil. So more squash plants right there for fall. Okay, our tomatoes are kind of just flopped all over the place. I never put these up that were planted here on the front. And we do have some growing up on that trellis. So we'll harvest the ones that are ready. There are some turning red. So I'll give you an update here. Not everything is coming up that I put in here, but we do have some beans coming up. So it looks like we've got 4 plants that made it. There was a 5th one that sprouted, but something might have gotten to the top of it. But it does look like we have 4 here that are healthy. So hopefully those will grow up and we'll get some harvest there. Okay, so I'll show you this. This is our Malabar spinach and there's still weeds coming up through it. We keep weeding it, but these guys are insistent on living here. So here's how I put the seeds. I planted peas here and you can see a couple of these peas are popping up. I hope that they would grow on that trellis. The other thing that's coming through here is more Malabar spinach. And on this side where I planted the beans, I don't see any beans coming up. I just see more Malabar spinach trying to grow. Okay, this garden bed on the other side, we do have a couple of melons coming in. These were volunteer melons, so we'll see how those do. We've got some tomatoes that are ready to pick. Here's our green beans. Some of them are starting to die off. So here's a look at the underside of the green beans. We have more beans to harvest.
What?
That's so cute holding your purse.
You like my purse? Not my purse. Not my purse.
So my plan today is to make some spaghetti sauce. So we have a bunch of tomatoes that are in the house and ready to go. I want to get all these peppers off of here. Most of these are bell peppers that I'm pulling off right here. I want to get as many as I can, so I'm even taking the small ones. So we've got a bunch of these spaghetti squash that are all ripe, they're yellow, they're ready to be harvested. So we're gonna grab several of these and just take them in with us today and get as many harvested as we can while we're out here this morning. Let me show you guys my dilemma that I'm having. Let me show you what this plant looks like. I'm going to give you a closer up view, and then I'm going to show you where there's new growth. So this is that spaghetti squash right where it's planted. So all these vines just look terrible. They look like they're dying. It looks pretty bad on this side. Okay, so check out this part right here. It's super healthy. There's new growth. There's new squash forming. So you can see this little guy right here. So I don't want to pull this out because it's still producing more food. It looks terrible on the other side, but that's the reason I'm leaving it in. Bye, Mama. Oh, Daddy turned the water off for us. That's so nice. So you guys, I have this little driveway tomato. It was a volunteer that popped up. This is the pathway we walk out to the garden from some of our pots and like raised beds that we have over here in this section by the greenhouse. So obviously we must have dropped some. It decided to volunteer. This is actually our healthiest, happiest plant. So I'm just gonna harvest a few tomatoes. And this plant actually gets beat up so bad. So I'll show you, we open this gate every day, every morning, every night, at least twice a day we're opening this gate. And this plant's taking a beating, yet it's producing tomatoes, it's healthy, it's happy. Okay, here's what our raised planter beds look like. The tomatoes are definitely damaged. It's been so hot out here. It's like 111, 112. This is what they're looking like. Our lemon cucumber that we put in this little pot right here is actually doing pretty well, and it's growing. It's got flowers on it. It's actually growing into that tomato, using it to trellis. And let me show you what tomato is doing well. This sun sugar tomato is doing pretty well. It's got some fruit on it. And over here, our sweet potatoes are doing pretty well. So those seem happy. So our volunteers are definitely doing the best. This guy is green, healthy. This popped up in the ground, kind of grew through the pot with no soil in it. We've since added some compost to it so that it can establish more roots and like retain water. But it's just growing, taking off. The yellow leaves you see here are actually from that tomato plant over there. So this volunteer one looks really good. It's super happy and it's producing fruit. So we'll harvest this sun sugar. It's got some tomatoes on it that we need to grab. Good, but they're struggling with the heat. So it's been 111, 112, just ridiculous out here. We don't have any shade or anything for these guys. So they're producing, like if you look at these peppers, it's loaded with peppers. My Anaheims are turning red, but some of them are definitely getting some sunburn. They could benefit from a shade cloth or, you know, better temperatures. So we're gonna harvest what's available, and then we'll get back to working out here a little bit more once it cools off a bit. One thing I did want to show you guys over here though is the eggplant. So we're going to harvest some of this today. So let me show you what it looks like. They're kind of small, maybe 4 inches, 6 inches. There's some bigger ones over here. Oh, everything's in the way. Let me see if I can show you. So a couple, they're a little bit bigger. So we're going to try to harvest these guys today. We've got this death spiral. I went ahead and picked it. It's kind of drying out here, so I'm just going to take it. We've got a bunch of jalapenos that have turned red. Let me grab those guys. Now this jalapeno is doing really well. This is probably one of our best producers here in this pot. And we have several of them planted out in the raised beds. So it's been kind of hit and miss for me this year. What does better in a pot versus what's doing better in our raised beds. These are getting plenty of water every day. We're out here taking care of them. The soil is definitely getting a lot hotter because they're in pots, and that has likely an impact on them. Here's another death spiral. Now this is my Buena Mulata pepper plant. I'm letting all these peppers stay on the plant because I'm trying to save seeds so that I can share them. Our backyard garden is just looking crispier and crispier as this heat just continues here for us in Northern California. But these squash are still looking healthy for the most part, and they're still producing more squash, so we're letting them hang in there. This pepper plant is our Brazilian starfish. This is the first year growing it, and most of it still needs to ripen, but it looks like we've got one pepper that's ripe, so we'll pick that and try it. We've got some volunteer eggplant that's producing some eggplant for us. And then our squash is still growing like crazy on the ground. Here's delicata squash. The plant doesn't look so great, but it is still producing squash, so we're letting it hang in there. All of our peppers here in this bed are just loaded with peppers.
Got my bucket. Got me some hot peppers. These things, look at this guy. It looks pretty hot. Yep. I don't know what we're going to use them for, but we're going to use them. Katie's got me in her picking these because there's some little critters in here. You know, there is wasps in here. So Katie does not want to pick it. So now I have to pick it. And hopefully I don't get stung. And if I do get stung, I'm going to blame it on her. So, it's like 5 in the morning. So we're trying to beat the wasps. They're moving pretty slow. So hopefully they don't get me.
Okay, you guys, check this out. So I've got ground cherries all over the ground. Gary decided to clean things up out here. He took the weed eater to my ground cherries that were traipsing over the side of that bed. So now we have ground cherries all over the ground. If you guys can hear the animals in the background, they're all calling for their breakfast. We're out here so early in the morning trying to beat the heat and work out here in the garden. Here's my long beans. I'm trying to save some of that for seed. This lemon cucumber is producing really well and we like it. This is the first year growing it and we're really happy with it. Here's our watermelon that we planted kind of late in the season, so we'll see if we're actually able to produce any watermelon. Pink banana squash. Hopefully this produces well for fall. We had a fantastic harvest. We've got some eggplant, butternut squash, spaghetti squash, delicata squash, a couple melons, a huge bowl of sugar rush peach, peppers, habaneros, some chili peppers, some death spirals, a Brazilian starfish. We've got some peach reapers, some ahi lemon drops, our rattlesnake green beans, a bunch of tomatoes, some cucumbers. So we're really happy with our harvest. Now I just need to get all this put up and make sure that we find ways to use this healthy food so nothing goes to waste. Thanks you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this full garden tour and harvest. Be sure to hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed and ring that notification bell so you see updates as we release them each week. We have a big fall garden going, so you definitely don't want to miss anything. See you guys next week.